All right. Uh, Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Housing and Economic Development Committee. Today is November 24th, and we will begin with the roll call, posting of the agenda, and the flag salutes.
Member Basua,
Here.
Member Flynn,
Present.
Chair Madrigal.
Here.
Chair, we have a quorum, and the agenda for this meeting was posted in the City Hall kiosk on Wednesday, November 18th.
Okay, thank you very much. We will now do the flag salute. Mayor, can you lead us with the flag salute, please?
Yes, thank you very much. Place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you very much, Mayor.
Thank you.
We are now moving on to public comments on items not on the agenda. And it looks like we have no public comments this afternoon. If that is the case, then we will move on to item C, the consent agenda, and we have the approval of minutes for the November 10th meeting.
Move to approve.
Second.
Call for a vote.
Member Basua,
Aye.
Member Flynn,
Aye.
Chair Madrigal.
Aye.
The motion to approve carries 3-0.
Okay, thank you very much. Now we move on to reports. And our first report is from the Housing Department. Subject, City of Oxnard Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, also known as the CAPR. Mr. Emilio Ramirez, the presentation.
Good afternoon, members of the Housing and Economic Development Committee. Emilio Ramirez, Director. Emilio Ramirez, Director of Housing. Presenting to you a fairly routine item that is due to HUD for the grants that we received annually from the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. So it is the annual consolidated performance and evaluation report, as the chairman mentioned, otherwise known as the CAPR. So that CAPR is normally due to HUD by the end of September, 90 days after the beginning of the fiscal year. But because of COVID-19, they have announced a waiver, and they wanted these to be submitted to HUD prior to the end of the calendar year, December 30 of next month. And so we are preparing for your review that CAPR, which is to report on activity for the use of funds in the Community Development Block Grant, in the Home Investment Partnership Program, and in the Emergency Solutions Grants programs. The various programs fund a variety of low-income development and homeless initiatives in the city of Oxnard, including code compliance, homebuyer assistance, housing rehabilitation, public facilities, and public services. And as you can see on screen, we have undertook a variety of those efforts, and you can see the level of service that has been provided in those programs. Homeless services are also funded using CDBG and ESG funds. In this case, rapid rehousing, public service, overnight shelter, homeless prevention, and street outreach. And as you can see, the grants for ESG for the 2019-2020 year was approximately $212,000. Staff expended approximately $143 of that $212,000 and has a balance of about $120. Everything has been committed to those rapid rehousing programs, including homeless prevention, shelter operations, and outreach. And so we don't have any funds left to commit, but we are in the midst of implementing the programs and expending those funds. The 2019-2020 home program grant was for just over $726,000, where the staff expended approximately $317,000. So having added that remaining balance to the balance that we had at the beginning of the July 2019 fiscal year, the balance as of June 30, 2020 was just under $2.5 million. Unfortunately, during that year, we did not complete or expend funding for actual development of affordable housing. And so we continue to work on committing those funds. We do have quite a bit of projects that are in play right now, or in the pipeline, if you will, that we are preparing to commit to, but they were not successful in either getting primary funding or completing the entitlements as needed as a precondition to the commitment. So the funds remain in balance. The 2019-2020 CDBG program grant was just over $2.5 million, where the staff expended $2.2 million in the program year. The remaining balance as of June 30 was just over $3 million. Everything has been committed, but we remain in continued implementation of the programs and the projects. The vast majority of those are capital improvement projects, which take time to implement. Park improvements, street improvements, things like that are active and underway. So there isn't any real money that's available to commit, any real money, in as much as I believe right now the unprogrammed balance is just under $50,000. The public facilities, public improvement. The CAPER is due to submit it to HUD by the end of the calendar year, by December 30, and we will be presenting it to council on December 15th. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ramirez. It looks like we have no public comment. Mayor, would you like, the floor is yours.
Yes, I don't have any questions. Excellent presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilwoman Basula.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I just have a quick question. When do we plan on spending the funds that were left over? What are the plans for that money?
For the only real program that has funds to commit is the home program. The CDBG program and the ESG programs, those funds have been committed and they're committed to contracts. Those contracts continue to be in place because they have a performance period of 2 years. So we're in the midst of that 2-year period, which means that those funds have been committed either to the homeless shelter or to public works or what have you, and those projects are underway. But the home program does have a sizable amount of money to commit to affordable housing development projects. And for example, we are preparing to come before the city council on December 15th to allocate $1 million to Cabrillo for their Annie Road project. We expected that to be in place last year, but they did not receive the tax credits that they needed to receive as a precondition to those commitments. So we have enough projects in the works such that we can commit those fundings in the next 6 months if we're able to get them entitled in time and submit for tax credits or primary funding sources. I don't anticipate us having an obligation problem.
Okay, thank you. No questions on my behalf. Thank you for your presentation and thank you for the information.
Thank you.
Okay, that being the case, it looks like recommendation is to forward this to the full city council for the December 15th meeting.
Correct.
Thank you. So I'll move the recommended action.
I'll second.
Call for a vote.
Member Basua,
Yes.
Member Flynn,
Aye.
Chair Madrigal.
Aye.
The motion to approve carries 3-0.
Okay, thank you. Now we move on to the second report item of this afternoon, and it's by the Community Development Department. Subject update and 6-month extension of agreement between the city and the Oxnard Downtown Management District, or ODMD. And presenting will be Rosie Ornelas and Martha.
Good afternoon, Chair Madrigal, Mayor Flynn, and Councilmember Basua. So we're here today to talk a little bit about the Oxnard Downtown Management District and the agreement that we have with them, which we previously had requested last year. This agreement, let me give you a little bit of background. In May of 2001, the City Council established a property-based business improvement district. This district has been renewed 4 times. And it is currently authorized until July of 2024. The city entered into an agreement with for services with the ODMD since July 1st of 2006. The last extension was granted on June 30th, 2020, and that agreement is set to expire December 31st of this year. This agreement establishes a contractual relationship between the city and the ODMD, and it sets out each of the parties' responsibilities. Basically, the ODMD is responsible for administering a program of improvements and activities to benefit the downtown. It also sets forth the length of the term and establishes that funds can only be used for purposes that are stated in the resolution. That is the one that establishes the Property and Business Improvement District. It also outlines the reporting responsibilities of the ODMD. The city is responsible for submitting the annual assessment roll to the county and dispersing the revenue funds to the ODMD. Many contracts between cities and other management corporations also spell out the responsibilities for each party and the adherence to the Brown Act. Our current agreement is silent on many of these issues. So we're here to request a 6-month extension, and we have our consultant, Marco Lamandri of New City America, who will explain the need for that extension and give you an update on what we've accomplished since June.
Okay, thanks, Rosie. Hope everybody can hear me. So the organizational structure, and I don't really know why, was set up as what's called a 501c4 under the IRS rules. 501c4s are considered public benefit corporations, but there is no charitable benefit. So if someone wants to donate a car, a boat, or anything else, a house, donations, contributions, they're not a charitable write-off. And so that was one of the first things we looked at and said, we're not sure where that came from, but that's usually like a port commission or some type of entity that is appointed by the city council. So we wanted to look at that because we wanted to determine that if people wanted to make contributions for special projects within downtown Oxnard, that they should be able to get a charitable write-off if they were not eligible for a business expense. Secondly, we needed to retain and attract the development of boards of directors, new boards of directors. One of the problems that has existed for a while is a lot of the same people have been on the board for many years. A lot of new blood has been difficult to attract. And so what we wanted to do in a lot of ways is the district is the same because the district has the boundaries that have been approved by the city council, the budget, etc. However, the management corporation needed to be a little bit more entrepreneurial than it's been in the past. We know that we're heading, particularly with COVID, into reductions of revenues that are coming to the city from sales taxes as well as hotel taxes. And the reduction in city services could lead to budget cuts in the future. And those budget cuts would impact the general services that are provided by the city and downtown. We also know that, over the last 8 years, we've had the dissolution of redevelopment. A lot of the parcels that you had now have to be sold. And when they are sold, the revenues need to be split. There was also revenue under redevelopment to support downtown staff as well as special projects in downtown Oxnard. That no longer exists. And it stalls with the city master vision plans that exist. So, and Rosie might be able to address that a little bit more than me at the end of this presentation. But we looked at it and said the whole point of the P-bid, and my company's formed 89 of these, is not just to clean things up. It's to really become a dynamic economic development tool that the city works with, as well as the property owners, businesses, and residents within a given community works with. And we felt that a lot of that vision wasn't going forward. So we've already moved forward. We were working with the Downtown Oxnard Task Force, as was appointed by the city manager. We met starting, I think, in June, and we already have gotten the new organization, Downtown Oxnard Improvement Association, set up in the state of California as a 501c3. We're in the process of filing the bylaws, which were also approved by the task force, to the IRS, hoping to get the IRS designation as a public benefit corporation, a charitable corporation, by probably sometime in February. We wanted to strengthen the entrepreneurial ecosystem and attract top-tier businesses. And I think this is going to be even more challenging as we go into 2021 and 2022 because of the impact of COVID. We wanted to maximize the efficiency of the district board of directors by forming new committees. One is Clean and Safe, which we may alter the name a little bit towards Civil Sidewalks. Civil Sidewalks means what is someone's experience when they're walking between the curb and property line or crossing the street, et cetera, in the public rights of way downtown. District Identity, which is marketing, promotion, social media, and building a positive image of downtown Oxnard. So when people say downtown Oxnard, we want them to think in their mind, there's a lot of stuff that's going on there, new positive things. And then the final committee would be the executive committee, or what we call the organization committee, which would really guide the agendas as well as the priorities of the corporation working with the city. So we formed the new Oxnard task force, as was reported in last June or so. We've created and approved the articles of incorporation. They were accepted by the ODMD on October 28th. We've issued requests for proposals regarding the executive management, maintenance, and creative marketing. And the reason why we did that is we just wanted to see, are the services that are being provided by the current district management corporation, the ODMD, are they representing best practices? So the executive director has been there for many years. We wanted to see if the executive director is the best there is out there. That's great. Then you keep the executive director. Right now, the maintenance is done in-house. The president of the ODMD is supervising that maintenance crew. But I think that he's been convinced that he does a very good job in oversight. But in case his business or his property management takes him away from that, somebody else needs to manage that. So we did an RFP. We interviewed one national company, one local company, and the task force has decided to move forward with the new company, I think, once the new corporation board of directors is set up. Creative marketing has been put off a little bit. Who's going to be doing the social media, the Facebook, the Instagram, the Twitter, et cetera? That's not really set up right now. The website needs to be updated and improved, and the creative marketing and creative identity people would be doing that. We put that off until we can get this new board of directors consolidated. And the new board of directors will include a lot of the current board of directors. They'll just move to a new corporation. Interviewed the candidates for maintenance and made a decision. Interviewed 4 candidates for executive director on November 15th. We made a recommendation for 2 of them. We're going to do a final interview in the next couple of weeks. And then the creative marketing interviews are to be determined, because it's something we could put off, because the new board of directors should really give input on what the priorities should be regarding marketing, social media, et cetera. So we have a lot more work to do, but I think that we've had a real good working task force. We've had a lot of participation. when we have had the meeting, a lot of conversations. It hasn't been completely smooth, but it's been very productive. And I think that people would raise points, we'd answer the points, and then in the end, people would be satisfied with the answers. The whole point of doing this is we believe that the linchpin to the revitalization of downtown Oxnard is this district management corporation. It's a 501c3, it's independent, it has city participation on it, but this is really a job of the business and property owners and residents of downtown Oxnard to really push this forward and get support from the city. And I think that we're moving in that direction right now, and we brought in some new blood. The new blood has given us a lot of great ideas, and then we're just moving forward. We're asking for the 6-month extension because we still need to get the letter of determination from the IRS, still need to consolidate the new board of directors, get the creative agency on board, determine who will be serving as the executive director, and getting the new maintenance team on board too. So I think that covers everything, Rosie, right? Oh, here's the agreement extension. We're asking that it be a maximum term of June 30th, 2021. We think that we'll be able to transfer the city contract from the ODMD to the new Downtown Oxnard Improvement Association sooner than that, but we just want the 6 months to try to give us as much time as possible. We're hoping, of course, that the vaccine comes in and starts to stabilize things get opened up a lot more, and we get back to some sense of normalcy by the summer. We also need to strengthen the termination provisions, which were previously pretty weak between the city and the ODMD, to allow for the subject agreement to be terminated upon city council approval of an agreement with the new 501c3. And then we're asking that the city manager appoint 3 members to the ODMD board effective January 2021, and they'll serve until there's a new agreement with the 501c3, and that agreement under the new Downtown Oxnard Improvement Association has been approved by the city council. We're asking that you receive the update on the reorganization work done by the staff consultant in the Downtown Oxnard Task Force, and recommend the city council approve the 5th amendment of the agreement to the Oxnard Downtown Management District. And that, I think, concludes my presentation, unless Rosie, you want to bring anything else up?
No, I think that's all, unless anybody has any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, it looks like we have 2 public speakers. First public speaker is Pat Brown, to be followed by Lorenzo Castillo.
Hi, Pat. You have 3 minutes. Please begin.
Yes. I live in the downtown area on the east side of Oxnard Boulevard and north of Woolley Road in the Royal Palms Mobile Home Park. And I have lived here since 1993. And I am the neighborhood chair, and I have been for years, and I've just been reelected again to the neighborhood chair. And I know that my neighborhood along the east side of Oxnard Boulevard is very concerned about the types of businesses that we have in here, the way the city looks, the Oxnard Boulevard looks, and because they built all the fancy new stuff on the other side of the freeway, they're taking all of the business. We've got to do something major in order to get all of that business, some of that business to come here. And I put together some ideas. I would be willing to talk with somebody at another time out in Plaza Park or somewhere. where we can talk and I can give you a list of ideas that I have as far as attracting business. And we've got to upgrade everything to make it the same quality as the projects, as the businesses look on the north side of the freeway. Otherwise, we're never going to get anywhere. We're just going to keep going downhill, downhill, downhill. And this is just not right. We've got to do something. And this would bring in more sales tax to the city and a lot more business to everybody, not just the people on Oxnard Boulevard, but all over town. If we did this along Oxnard Boulevard, we've got the old drive-in theater now, or the old used car lot that's all vacant now. We need redevelopment there. We are having some other redevelopment that's going in on the south side of south of 5th Street and near Meta on the east side of Oxnard Boulevard. We've got some housing that's going to go in there. We need to try to really spiffy up the city. And I haven't seen anything doing that other than the Christmas decorations on the poles that the city puts out. I haven't seen anything to update anything in years on Oxnard Boulevard. There's, I think, 1 or 2 businesses have repainted their exterior, but that's about it. We've got to do something, and we've got to do it now. And I would love to be part of a committee. I would love to come and speak if you want to know. I have a feeling that a lot of the businesses don't want to know. They don't want to put out any money. They don't have any money left because they're not getting enough business. Well, they're not.
Ms. Brown,
it's just
thank you.
around because they're never going to get business without upgrading. So.
All right, next speaker we have is Lorenzo Castillo.
Hi, Lorenzo. You have 3 minutes.
Hello.
Hi. 3 minutes.
Okay, hi. Okay. My name is Lorenzo Castillo, and I am a business owner here in downtown Oxnard, Exit Castillo Realty, since 2005. And I lived in Oxnard since 1972, and I'm also involved with the downtown business district. I'm one of the board members, and I just really have some questions and concerns. I think that the people that are in place right now have done a really good job. I don't see how. I know the city manager appointed a task force. I was asked to be on that task force before Jeff left, and I was told that I had filled up all the required board members. And you know, I'm the type of person that say the things as the way I see it. I've seen a lot of changes here in downtown Oxnard. I'm not criticizing anything. I just think that we need some better decisions being made here in downtown. Look, we have a lot of vacant properties that are owned by the city of Oxnard. I made an offer on one of the properties. My offer was rejected because apparently they were gonna market these properties with a realtor, a commercial real estate office. I haven't seen anything. And then the last year, I heard the last thing I heard, and I didn't hear the whole thing when Emilio made a presentation saying that the landromat is going to be demolished because they're going to bring some kind of a venue to downtown because they think they're going to attract more businesses. Look, I can tell you that all these ideas that the city has had obviously haven't worked. I think that what needs to happen in this downtown is these properties that are owned by the city need to be developed. Supposedly we had some developers that were coming from out of the area, which I'm not okay with. Why can we have developers from the city of Oxnard develop these properties? I don't like that. Obviously, I know that you're trying to do the best thing, but I think this organization that is running the ODMD has done a really good job. Obviously, they're working on the website, and I'm not saying this just because I'm part of the committee. I've seen them do all the work that they do, the cleaning, the security,
30
everything that's happening downtown. Now, as far as thinking that all these changes bring in a nonprofit because we're going to ask for donations and things like this, I don't think this is the public's responsibility. I think the city needs to spend the money more aggressively and smarter than the way we have been done it, because our city looks really bad. And I hate to say this, but something needs to be done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Mayor Flynn, comments?
Mayor, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Thank you very much. So there's a lot of things to be said, Mr. Chair and committee member Basua. I think, the main thing that I think that we need to focus on is the future. And I think the city manager would probably say the same thing, and our distinguished presenter. And it seems like reconstituting this organization is going to go a long way to start establishing some higher goals and objectives that are going to lead to a downtown that my previous colleagues on the council had when they formed and they allowed Centennial Plaza to be developed. It is been a real challenge given the fact that in 2008, after the Great Recession hit, that in essence kind of undermined the downtown theater, and certainly development, as was talked about by Ms. Brown, development off the freeway. It's not an unusual thing that a lot of development takes place in close proximity to freeways, and in fact, many successful companies, corporations, have business models that are predicate that they locate within a certain distance of a freeway. But going forward, I would just like to ask our presenter, who's done a magnificent job, I'd just like him to maybe summarize the role of the future ODMD and the role of the city when it comes to the revitalization of downtown. Because I think one of the frustrations that maybe some business owners have had, that the executive director of the ODMD has had, that maybe previous board members have had, and a lot of people, is what is the role of the ODMD when it comes to the revitalization of the downtown, and what is the role of the city? And I'd like the presenter just to maybe address that, if he could.
Okay, Rosie, did you want to take that, or do you want me to take that?
You can go ahead, Marco.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I go back to, and I listened very carefully to what the public speaker stated. The first speaker was frustrated about the lack of businesses, and what we're really talking about is critical mass. If you go to the basically the shopping center, which is right adjacent to the freeway, a few miles away, the reason why it works is because it has critical mass. It also has residential that's built into that, so it has its own built-in market. Downtown does not have that, and as the second speaker has stated, there are a lot of city properties, and I think the city council people are aware of the fact that of the $500,000 budget that the ODMD currently has, the city's paying $150,000 per year into that. So it behooves the city council to say, if we're putting $150 in every single year, what are we getting in return? Is there additional sales tax revenue? Are there new properties being sold? Are there new people moving in here? I mean, when I would tell you that you have so many assets, and the collection isn't a downtown, the collection is a shopping center, and it's a really well done shopping center, but there's nothing like a downtown. And you have a train station. So I know that we've all been set back a little bit by COVID, but I think we have to say, what is the image of downtown Oxnard to the people who live in Oxnard or the people in Ventura County. Secondly, are the basic services being met in the city? Yes, they are. I mean, there's not broken trees or broken street lights, and sidewalks are in pretty good shape. The issue really is a lot of the vacant land that you have. And the vacant land becomes a liability, but it also becomes an asset. If you have vacant land, you don't have to tear anything down. You get to just build on it. But then the question becomes, why aren't people moving into downtown Oxnard when the land is so inexpensive? And it is. And the reason being is that no one, I don't think, is telling the story about downtown Oxnard. And until you tell the story of why it makes sense and what the assets are in downtown Oxnard in terms of the microclimate, the train station, access to the freeway, city hall, a very supportive city council, people are, they're going to look at downtown Oxnard, they're going to look at downtown Ventura, they might look at Coast Village, they might look at State Street and say, I'd rather invest in these other places. So someone really needs to grab the bull by the horns and say, this is what we have going in downtown Oxnard. And the final thing I think is, I always tell people that you need, three things to make a downtown work. You need a place, and you clearly have a place. It's the historic center of Oxnard. Secondly, you need independent financing, and you have that through the PBID. The PBID is basically a funding mechanism. It is not a corporation. The third thing you need is an entrepreneurial corporation that uses that independent revenue to build the place. I think that's one thing that's been somewhat challenging to the current ODMD, and they're not alone. This happens with a lot of district management corporations. They do what they've always done, which is they clean up the sidewalks. They do certain things in terms of marketing promotion. Pre-COVID, they did some events. But the real development and the real growth of the downtown is going to be vertical. It's not going to be horizontal. So as much as city property can be turned over to private development, it brings that property into the tax rolls. And I think that the more vertical you go, 2, 3, 4, 5 stories mixed use, the more activity you'll build in downtown. People want to live in downtown so they can then patronize those restaurants, those stores, etc. So that's what we're trying to do, is deal with the third part of that, which is creating this entrepreneurial district management corporation. And that's why we set it up as a 501c3, because the ability to raise money then would supplement the $500,000 that they currently have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Just if I might, and I don't want to monopolize the time.
No, go ahead, Mayor.
Yeah, Marco, I really appreciate what you had to say, and especially this new focus on the entrepreneurial spirit. And so I guess I've always had a real, I think you partially answered the question, but I'm still seeking further direction and further inquiry. And that is that beyond being a service organization, which you stated, the ODMD is, and implementing and kind of trying to provide this new entrepreneurial spirit on the part of the ODMD and its relationship with the city. Does the how do we really differentiate the responsibilities of the ODMD from the city? That really is my question. What's the city's obligation? What's the ODMD's future obligation under this reconstituted organization?
So that's an excellent question. Under state law and the state constitution, the city provides general benefits. Could be emptying the trash out, fixing the street lights, making sure sidewalks work. But the whole function of a property assessment district under the state constitution is to fund those things over and above what the city is currently providing. So the city does not normally sweep sidewalks. And that's something that the ODMD does. The city might not be running the downtown website. That's something that the ODMD does. The city might not be underwriting certain events. That's something that the ODMD does. The point that we were trying to make is that we believe that the ODMD need to be reinvented. The District Management Corporation was really the linchpin to utilize this $500,000 per year and try to begin to attract new businesses and new property owners. Once people start seeing somebody build some apartments or condos or something and sell them and actually make money and a good return on their investment, they're going to tell other developers, and then those other developers are going to wind up coming in. Or if you look at one old historic building that might exist, how do you convert that to become a real great gathering place in post-COVID? A lot of that priority is not being undertaken by the ODMD at this point. I don't believe it's anybody's fault. It's just that this is something they've been doing for, I think Rosie said, up to 20 years. And you get involved in these grooves and you stay in those grooves. But then when you step back and you say, what should we be doing? What is really the next step? And the next step in a post-COVID environment is, number one, to save your downtown and then reinvent your downtown. And that's the phase we're in. We believe that the District Management Corporation will act as a more efficient and effective vehicle to do those things with the $500,000 it's currently generating per year.
Mayor, just if I may, so make sure I understand the question that you're asking. In the contract, we have one set of rules, which is kind of what Marco just went into, is what the contract will say our role is versus ODMD's role in the contract. But if your question is bigger than that, more about what our role is in the overall redevelopment of downtown, obviously the answer is a little bit different than just kind of the basis of going above and beyond baseline. So I just wanted to see if I'm understanding your question correctly.
Yeah.
Contractors
Well,
role of redevelopment.
Yeah, so that's exactly, and Marco got closer, but that's exactly what it is when we're talking about reconstituting and we're talking about a new entrepreneurial spirit, we're talking about the ODMD not really focused on this in the past. The question here is that I could see that the ODMD and the city are going to partner together to move forward, and a new vision and all these other things. Very, very positive, very optimistic things to do. So is it going to be the job then of the newly constituted board to attract those new businesses into the downtown? And that's their primary responsibility. And then the city's responsibility is to actually, be in charge of redeveloping the properties. Or is it going to be our economic development director, Rosie, who's going to be working in tandem with the downtown, with the ODMD, to be the ones that attract these new businesses? That's really getting to the point.
What's interesting, Mayor, is we had that exact debate within our own task force after we did interviews last week of one of the groups, is whose role is what. And I think that's part of the problem that we've had over the last 20 years is it's all of our roles. It can't just be one person's job, but in terms of focusing, obviously the ODMD or the DOIA, the new group that we're talking about, can't redevelop the city's properties. However, they do have a role in attracting developers to downtown and talking to developers and knowing the downtown and just having a good, clean, and safe downtown. All those things go into the city's ability to also do their job. And part of what Marco's trying to get at is if the city's paying $150,000 a year into the ODMD, it's really trying to figure out what are our collective goals and benefits, which was the last kind of exercise that we're going through with our task force right now, is to make sure that we understand what the director's role is versus the board's role versus the city's role. And there is a lot of overlap in that, but our focus as a city and a city staff is in redeveloping our properties, getting those back into the property tax, getting people to live in downtown, to do that while supporting the ODMD's overall goals of clean and safe. Marco, do you want to add to that based on setting? Because that was a big part of our discussion, was we need to develop housing in downtown. That is our primary goal as a city, as well as connecting people to our transit services through some of the different roadway improvements and pedestrian improvements that are needed.
Yeah, in many ways, I don't think it's an if, I think it's when people start moving downtown, because your downtown has a great microclimate. It's flat, it's extremely walkable. You have almost a central park smack in the middle of the downtown. The residents. And I think you need a lot of market rate housing and clearly affordable that's mixed in with that. But they're going to create new demand on a lot of those spaces that are currently empty. It's almost as if all of the businesses in downtown are vehicular oriented. They're not pedestrian oriented. What you really want to see is people living around the park and people walking to restaurants and walking to grocery stores or walking to music stores. And that demand will exist if people are living in downtown. You are lucky that you have so much available land and so much of it is owned by the city, because I think the city manager, and it's clear the assistant city manager and the economic development department understands the need to turn that property over to private development. But it's got to be high quality development. It shouldn't be 1 story or 2 story. You want to build the density and really take advantage as much as possible. So the city can't do this by itself, and the district management corporation can't do it by itself. That's why the proposal is to have the city manager appoint some new people onto the board so we can bring in some of the best elements into the district management corporation, the DOYA, and include the people that are currently on the ODMD board to say, where do you want to be in 2 years? Where do you want to be in 4 years? And the only way you're going to be able to do that is to have a vision which includes lots of people living in downtown. And so from the outset, we've said this has got to be the priority, is bringing people back into downtown, much like the collection has done, much like other downtowns have done in adjacent cities. Ventura is a great model of turning a downtown around. Everybody knows it was not like that 10, 15, 20 years ago, but the new residential developments in downtown Ventura have really turned things around. And I think they will equally turn things around in downtown Oxnard.
Thank you. And I'll just say to the chair and committee member Basua, I just think, Ms. Golden also touched on the fact that they've had this very debate. What is the expectation of the executive director when it comes to this entrepreneurial side, this attracting new businesses? And then what are the board members' roles? Because quite frankly, if we look at, and again, I don't want to go back to, the whole history of the ODMD, but there's been an expectation that the director of the ODMD has in large part been responsible for this. And I just think it needs to make sure that we really clarify it so that the city council understands exactly what are the expectations that the city has for its $150,000 investment of the executive director and the board. What are the deliverables that we expect specifically from that? And that is I think that's just setting very clear goals and objectives. And I think that by defining that, Mr. Chair and Committee Member Basua, I think by defining that, it's going to make the relationship a lot easier, because the last 20 years have been one fraught with board members not knowing if the director should be doing it and the city's not doing enough, and so that everybody really understands what their role is. And I think it's going to produce a better result. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilwoman Basua.
Thank you. I had a few of, I had the same question the mayor did, as far as, what is the role of the city? What is the role going to look like? But I also understand Ms. Golden said, that is something that they're going to be working on. And I would like the mayor, I would like to see the defined roles once this is set up and you have your new board, your executive board, and whoever the city manager is going to appoint. I would like to see really defined roles on what we can expect. What is it that is expected from the ODM with the Oxnard? What is the Oxnard going to say? Yes, we are going to be responsible for A, B, and C. The executive board is going to be doing this, and the defined roles, I think, would be extremely helpful to the council, so we all know what lane we all need to stay in. And those are all my comments.
Thank you very much. I'll go the same echo. I think by everyone answering the mayor's questions, kind of answered my own questions that I had. I actually have one quick little question though. What is DOYA stand for?
Downtown Oxnard Improvement Association.
Okay, thank you for that. But other than that, thank you for the presentation. Thank you for answering the questions. You know, now I think people could go back and kind of, even though we're still kind of murky as to what everyone does, and I think at the end of the day, I think Assistant City Manager Golden said it best. I think it's all of our jobs. So no one really to blame at the end of the day, but hopefully with this new management or association district, I think defined roles would be ideal, and it would be great for the city council, but it'll be better for the entire downtown. So thank you very much for the presentation. And then
Before we take a motion, just to make sure that, so right now what we're asking for is for the 6-month extension. And I hear the direction loud and clear, and I'm happy to say that we're already working on that. When we bring an agreement with the city and DOYA is where you will then see those goals better defined, as well as the refined roles better defined. So the extension that will then go before council will be this very extension of just the 6 months to give us time to continue to work through that. And as part of our discussions as well, the executive director and the board, we've also talked about that they need to do, normal reviews and goal setting within their own group on an annual basis to keep everybody on track and accountable. And with the city having positions within that board, that also holds us accountable as well for our membership within that group. So I feel confident that we're working towards the path that you all are asking for. So thank you.
Thank you. Motion?
Move the recommended action.
Okay, call for a vote.
Second.
I didn't hear a second. Was there a second?
Oh, yeah, Gabby seconded it, but I think she kind of cut off.
Okay.
Second. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Member Basua?
I did. Aye.
Member Flynn?
Aye.
Chair Madrigal?
Aye.
The motion to approve carries 3-0.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you
Happy
too.
Thanksgiving. Next, we have item E, items for future agendas. Mayor?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that Chair Madrigal, that we get the Safe Home, Safe Families presentation. I don't know if that is slated for, because I don't know if I was part of the last planning process, but I don't know, maybe if I can ask Ms. Golden if that is slated for the next meeting.
Mayor, we actually did that at the meeting that you missed last time. So I can forward that report on to you and follow up with any questions you may have.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Councilwoman Basua.
No, I'm good. Thank you so much.
And I am good as well. With that being the case, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.